Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dion's Daily Dose presents Face to Face with Dion and Shawn. I'm Dion.
And I'm Shawn.
So there's a lot of noise being made about this recent Supreme Court decision. 6-3, juries must be unanimous. Now, being kind of as an outsider to the whole Supreme Court thing, you pay a lot more attention than I do to it. I always thought that that was already a thing, that juries had to be unanimous. But apparently there was a law in Florida.
Yeah, that made it that only 9 of the 12 have to say that they're guilty.
See, that doesn't that go against the Constitution?
I always thought it did too.
But their claim, I guess, is that due to certain parameters, this is the Florida law, due to certain parameters, that doesn't apply and blah, 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 right? So we've got a thing here that kind of digs in. Well, it'd be nice if I use the right one. And it shows... This is from Jurist News. And it says here, U.S. Supreme Court rules unanimous jury required for sentence enhancement under Armed Career Criminal Act. So this is a special circumstance. The question is this going to trickle down? Is this precedent going to affect other cases? I say yes, because it almost always does. But let's see what they have to say. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Friday that a unanimous jury is required to apply a recidivism punishment under the Federal Armed Career Criminal Act. That act imposes a 15-year mandatory minimum prison term for offenders who have 3 or more qualifying convictions from 3 separate occurrences under the act, also known as the 3-strike rule. Been around for a while. The court held that a jury must unanimously find that the qualifying convictions were from separate occurrences for the mandatory minimum to apply. What was really interesting to me was how the votes split.
Yeah.
So it says here, the opinion written by Justice Neil Gorsuch relied heavily on the 5th and 6th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. The 5th Amendment grants a right to due process, while the 6th Amendment confers the right to a jury trial. The Supreme Court's opinion vacated a ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit made earlier this year. The outcome was a victory for Paul Erlinger. His past burglary convictions led the judge-imposed sentencing enhancement under the ACCA, Armed Career Criminal Act. This tripled the sentence he would have otherwise received for the crime he committed. The case was unique because the Department of Justice representing the United States agreed with Erlinger's position that a unanimous jury, rather than a judge, should be required to determine whether the crimes were committed on 3 separate occurrences. This meant that the 2 adversaries in the case shared the same position. As such, the Supreme Court enlisted an attorney from Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, LLP, to argue the negative position. Now, that is unique. We don't see that too often, where both parties that are coming in front of the Supreme Court both want the same ruling.
Yeah,
that's very unusual, right?
Yeah, that doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, that's not something that you see every day. So it says here, Justice Gorsuch, what is it?
Gorsuch.
All right. I was just had it all wrong, didn't I? Stated in his opinion that this result would have numerous benefits to the judicial system. He noted that it would mitigate the risk of prosecutorial overreach and constrain the judiciary to facts found by members of the community. Justice Kavanaugh wrote a dissenting opinion, joined by Justice Alito in full and Justice Jackson in part. What an interesting combination.
That is.
The dissent argued that the previous precedent that a judge was able to make this type of legal decision was rightfully decided. Justice Jackson also wrote her own dissent, in which she stated that, quote, applying the Apprendi rule to ACCA's occasions finding creates all sorts of practical problems that are easily avoided by simply allowing judges to do what they have always done. Because the court pushes the flawed Apprendi rule past where it needs to go and incidentally establishes a procedural requirement that is likely impossible to implement in real life, I respectfully dissent. We got a whole bunch of blank here. Did this not? Is that the end of the article?
Yeah, that must be the end of the article.
Okay. So, first of all, I think the main part of this, not only should a jury always be unanimous, in my opinion.
I agree.
But this has potential far-reaching implications because the main part that I'm taking away from this is that judges by themselves can't just apply enhancements. That's a big deal. We've seen that over and over in our legal system. I think the vast majority of things should be up to the jury. And so it's nice to see some of it being like transferred back to the jury. Got to put my Trump hat on. Because it could affect the Trump trial.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things about the Trump trial is the claim that the jury wasn't unanimous. Now, the jury was unanimous on the end result, but there was a 4-4-4 split on what the underlying crime was. Now, in this case, and I'm already seeing a couple of parallels here. In this case, they're saying, well, the jury has to decide if these previous convictions are germane to what's going on, which means, do they matter, right? Are they important? Do they apply? Not only that, but that they also must be unanimous. So one could infer that they're saying that the jury would have to be unanimous on any underlying conditions, which would directly affect the Trump trial. And I suspect that what's his nuts, the psycho out of control judge on this 30 count whatever trial, right? I can't remember the guy's name.
I can't either.
Mershon or something like Mershon.
Something like that.
Yeah. That he couldn't apply any judicial enhancements or anything like that because, again, jury has to be unanimous. So it will be interesting to see what this turns into. We didn't figure this was like big enough, I guess, for like a full auditory breakdown of arguments and stuff. But what I will say is legal scholars are going to be busy on this one. Yeah. Seeing like what's affected, what's not, what's the potential here, what's not. And as with all Supreme Court decisions, once the precedent has been set, it tends to ripple out and affect a lot of other cases.
True.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think this affects Trump's trial at all? Or, I mean, it's kind of a narrow interpretation of a very particular thing.
I don't know if it will or, but I don't understand how it wouldn't affect Trump because
Right, because you're ruling that the jury has to be unanimous
and they weren't
in considerations.
and the jury wasn't unanimous on what Trump exactly did.
Right. The underlying quote crime.
Uh-huh.
Right. Here's the thing: there's no shortage of reasons to toss that case out, but adding one more to the pile is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, I fully believe appeals is going to toss this, and then the state is going to have to decide whether they want to retry.
You're talking about the Trump case.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Trump case. This one's a done deal.
Yeah.
I mean, they've said that the jury has to be unanimous, so they're not going to apply the 3-strike rule, and more importantly, the enhancement by the judge, which I think they said ended up with him serving like 3 times, triple the time.
Said triple.
So he's still guilty of the crime that the jury found, but unless they want to retry it to have the jury decide whether the 3-strike rule applies, because they have to agree that multiple crimes were committed on separate occasions, and not the judge, the jury, which means they would have to retry the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking they're probably just gonna leave it alone, let him, remove the sentencing enhancement. He'll probably have to go for resentencing, I'm guessing. Yeah. And then maybe they will inform the jury. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this particular case. There's a whole lot going on right now with the judicial system, man. Are you seeing all the elected officials that are getting arrested?
I have not.
All over the place, man.
Is it?
Oh yeah. There's a former county commissioner in Indiana that got arrested.
Yeah, you said you did.
There's this judge in I can't think of where she is, but she was at a club, and they went to break up the fight, and she interjected herself into the situation, and so she got arrested and taken to jail. Oh yeah,
wow,
yeah. There's a bunch of stuff going on. There's some crazy stuff happening here too, but I think it deserves its own little video. Pay attention. I'll fill you guys in all the crazy stuff happening here in LaPorte County. It's interesting to say the least. I know I use that word a lot, but it is. I mean, what more joy can there be but to see crooks finally getting their comeuppance?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of these dirty ass officials, and I'm not talking specifically about LaPorte County, though they exist here in LaPorte County, in my opinion. Again, I have my own opinions and I'm entitled to them, but we're seeing people being arrested all across the U.S. Officials, judges, all this stuff. And it makes me wonder, is there something specific going on? I mean, dude, look at Hinyard and the crazy stuff going over in Illinois. If you guys, I'm sure you have, you can hardly turn on the news without hearing something about this crazy ass Chicago suburb mayor, Tiffany Hinyard. They
Elwood?
have what?
Elwood. I think it's in Elwood.
No, it's I can't. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up now because I can't think of the name. It's escaping me right now. Hold on. Dalton.
That's it.
Mayor of Dalton.
Yeah, she's something else.
She really is something else. She put it this way. She is the first thing that pops up when you put Tiffany in Google.
Is it?
Yeah. If you look, here, I'm going to show you guys just the results that popped up here. So I just put, hold on. There we go. So I just put Tiffany, and she, like I said, it was the first thing that popped up. But so I clicked on it, and here you go. All the, Thornton Township Board questions Tiffany Hinyard spending. Rescheduled Thornton Township meeting devolves into chaos as residents complain to Tiffany Hinyard. suburban contractor named in subpoena in ongoing Tiffany Henyard investigation. Yes, indeed. 15 scandals involving super mayor Tiffany Henyard. This is 2 days ago. Yeah. So this right here, it is theroot.com. I'm not familiar with this site, but all the alleged schemes, scandals, and shenanigans that keep this Chicago area super mayor in the news. So if you guys want to read about it, be my guest. I hear about it constantly. I turn on the TV or, browse YouTube and boop, there she is. Boop, there she is. So, yeah, it's going to be, I know the FBI is actively investigating. They did subpoenas on her, some of her deputies and some of her minions. So that's going to be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating when we finally see this drama come to a close. But yeah, they're all across the U.S. There are people that are getting arrested that normally don't get arrested. So check your area. You might have some. If you do, let me know in the comments, because I can't keep track of all of them. Like there's a lot. As a matter of fact, I think I might do a video showing all of them. You guys let me know. Like I said, pop it in the comments. Yeah. That's it for today. I appreciate you joining us. It's a wonderful day. It really is. Because we have so much going on right now that is so hard to keep track. And it can get you down looking at all the illegals streaming across the border and all the crap going on with that. But I truly believe that the hand of God is at work, and it's revealing so much right now. If you really just focus on what you learn from all these shenanigans, right? Perfect example. So the Supreme Court just released a rule that these married spouses can't anchor their illegal spouses, right? Interestingly enough, the Biden administration released an executive order pertaining to this very thing a matter of days before the Supreme Court ruled on it. Now, the more conspiracy theory minded out of us might potentially say that there was some communication between someone on the Supreme Court, or at least someone privy to what's going on in SCOTUS, and they communicated to the Biden administration, hey, this is going to happen. By Biden doing this EO, it looks like he's not directly countermanding the Supreme Court, but preemptively.
And they never caught the leaker of the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe versus Wade. So they could be still working on the Supreme Court.
Who do you think it is? Do you have an opinion?
I do. I don't think it's an actual justice. I think it's one of their aides.
You think it's an aide? Okay, that's possible. That's possible. I've seen some compelling arguments that that it is actually not Ketanji Brown, but actually Alito.
Really?
Yeah. We'll cover that in a video because it's an interesting argument, and it's something I'd like to dive into a little further. I'm not saying that's true, but it's something that I read the reasoning, and it was interesting.
I really hope it's not a Supreme Court justice.
I hope so as well. I mean, that's unacceptable.
It is.
It is. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you again very, very soon. As always, God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Shawn Holmgren and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose